I'm Robert with Yarbrough & Sons. We're out here for a spring air conditioning maintenance today. I'm going to be checking out the air conditioner, air handler, and this customer actually has an ionizer, so we're going to be checking that one out as well. The outdoor unit tends to be a little loud, so the customer wants that checked out. They're also wanting to make sure that their ionizer up in their air handler is working properly, making sure it's cleaning that air like it should be. First thing I'm seeing is quite a bit of oil staining on this motor. You can see it down here where there's a slight color change, showing that the bearings in the motor might have gotten hot at some point. So I'll be checking the capacitor on that as well. This particular capacitor is a 70 microfarad and a 10 microfarad. So I need to pull the fan side off and the compressor side off, and I can read what this one is actually reading right now. Making sure we're getting good continuity through there. One thing I do see is a break in the connection on the wire here, or in the insulation on the wire. So I'm probably gonna just cut that and splice a new end on there. We've got a small break in the insulation on this wire, and it's probably no big deal, but I do want to make sure there's no bare wires in here so we don't cause a short. So I'm going to cut this fitting off and crimp a new end on there that's back behind this. That way there's no bare wire showing. Simple, easy fix, just something I'm going to take care of for the customer right here and there. This is a wire stripper and crimping combo pliers. So I can actually cut the wire back with the blade ends. It's got a spot on here for stripping the insulation back on the wires to where I've got a good connection to start from. And then at the back here I can actually crimp the fitting on. One of my favorite tools that I've got in the bag right now. Typically we don't see breaks in the actual insulation on the wire. Typically it's a burnt terminal or something like that from poor connection, or just a loose connection on one of these terminals. And it's something I can take these pliers and just crimp the ends on and take care of it. But I mean, it's not super common, but it's not uncommon to see. With this one being just a little loose, we'll actually take that plier end on this and crimp down one side, and it'll make a lot better connection onto the terminals that it sticks to. Checking the overall feel of the bearings on the motor, trying to feel for any play side to side in there, and this one is rock solid. Just kind of by feel, you'll feel if it's gritty. You'll spin it, kind of keep your thumb on the motor shaft when you do that, and you can feel if it's grinding at all, or just grab it and move it back and forth. And if you hear any knocking or anything like that, it's a sign that the bearings are going out in the motor. All right, so we're about to wash this heat pump out, get any dirt that's built up on this coil. Granted, there's not much on this one, but we're gonna get any dirt on there off. The best way to do that is to take the fan out and wash it from the inside out with these covers removed. If you just wash it from the outside in, it'll just push that dirt farther into the coil. And we always want to wash it out of the coil and then knock it down from the outside once it's loose. You'll end up with higher pressures inside the unit, and then the unit can lose capacity or even just stop cooling altogether. Usually these units will have a pressure switch in them, and once that pressure gets so high, it just shuts the unit down. All right, so we just washed this unit out, got the panels all put back on it. We're about ready to fire this outdoor unit up and watch it run, but we want these coils to dry out before we check refrigerant. The main reason we clean these is, I don't know if it comes through on camera, but we've got cottonwood trees all around here, and there's actually cottonwood floating through the air right now. That cottonwood will get sucked up against these units, and that's what will cause it to lose capacity and have higher pressures. It won't get as much air through the unit and out the top as it should. We see that a lot with customers that we've installed units and in 3 months had to go back out there because the cottonwoods were so bad one spring that they were not working after 3 months. All right, so we're about to go check the indoor unit. We're gonna let the coils dry out here in the air before we check refrigerant. And then once we get the indoor unit checked out, make sure the blowers are good and all that, we'll be able to come out here, hook up the gauges, make sure the refrigerant's good. So we are going to open this unit up and check the evaporator coil, make sure it's not super rusted. This unit's only about 4.5 years old. All right, so this is actually an all aluminum pan. We've got a little bit of rust down here, but nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary. And from there, we're going to go into the blower compartment, check the blower motor, blower wheel, all that kind of stuff. So this motor is actually an ECM motor, so it doesn't have a capacitor. We are seeing some dust on the motor. Let's see, turn this off. Yeah, there's a little dust here and there. Yeah, something that we might recommend pulling and cleaning the blower wheel itself. So this is just a drain gun. Uses a CO2 cartridge to blow out any blockages in a drain. Part of our maintenance is we will blow out the drains every spring to make sure that it's got a good clean path for water to flow through during the summer when this unit is producing water. These will get like an algae buildup in them, or if the unit is excessively rusty, that rust flake will come off and get trapped in this trap and cause a blockage. I've seen calcium, I've seen bugs crawl in there and die. It's any number of things. From there, we should be good to put the cap back on it and put everything back in the tool bag. And that should have given us enough time for those coils to start drying out for us to check the outdoor unit refrigerant pressures. So far, everything's looking pretty good. The only thing of note on this is that there's dust on the blower wheel. And I mean, even 1/10 of an inch of dust on your blower wheel can cut your airflow by 20%. So it's something that we do want to recommend to the customer to pull that blower assembly and get it cleaned to make sure she has the best airflow possible in her house. All right, so we are back downstairs. We're gonna get the gauges hooked up, take an amp draw of the system once we get it running, make sure all the components are pulling their rated amp draws, and check the refrigerant charge. These are my gauges. It's gonna let us know the refrigerant pressures and the superheat and subcool of the unit. Just let us know the overall charge of the system. Let us know how it's doing. I'm gonna go inside, get this thing running. Okay, so we're pulling just under an amp on the condenser fan motor, 8.5-ish amps. It's actually dropping a little bit, so 8 amps on the compressor. And on a cooler day, that's kind of what we would expect. This one is actually, the condenser fan motor is rated for 1.2 amps. We're pulling 0.8, well within range there. The compressor is rated for upwards of 21 amps. So to only be pulling 8 amps on a 70-degree day, that's pretty typical. So the hotter it is outside, usually the higher the amps this will pull, because the motor has to work harder to get the same job done. I mean, so far everything's looking pretty good. I mean, the main issue we found today was this wire here, but that was an easy enough fix to just take care of it. And then the only other thing that's of any concern is the dust on the blower. And that's something we can take care of, let the customer know about that. So if we didn't do the maintenance today, that crack could have gotten worse on the low voltage wire there. That could have caused a low voltage short, blown a fuse or a transformer, and then caused the unit to stop working. If we don't address the dust that's on the blower and that continues to get worse, we can cause lower pressures inside and cause the unit to freeze up or even overheat in the wintertime. Customer will just be more comfortable if that blower is clean and has good airflow through the house, keep the whole house comfortable, and it'll relieve some stress on that blower motor. So overall, this system is looking in pretty good health. Pretty good maintenance today. We'll be seeing her again in the fall, where we'll actually wash this heat pump out again and basically do it all over again.